This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm Joe Rimmer and Liverpool are back in action tomorrow when they travel to Selhurst Park to take on Crystal Palace. To talk about the game, I've got three fine gentlemen. On my left is the tall man and your full-time Liverpool correspondent, both home and away, Paul Gorst. How are we, Paul?
Okay, just okay.
Yeah?
Surviving, yeah.
You're a bit hungover today, aren't you?
Well, no.
Yes, you are, come on.
Don't say this on the podcast, it makes me sound terrible, but...
You've been out last night on the tiles?
No, I went to see a popular musician at the Echo Arena, as we still call it, and we'll leave it there.
Okay, we'll leave it there, all right. On the far end is Theo Squires, who can shower again.
Yeah, my shower's working.
Yeah.
We had a water leaking on the Wirral a couple of weeks ago. I finally don't have to use friend showers. It's been a long haul.
I knew nothing about this.
Did you not?
No.
It's all over the website.
Theo hasn't
just read your
showered
stuff.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've had to be coming in before work and just showering here.
Really?
Yeah.
And from the man who hasn't showered for 2 weeks to a man who doesn't shower at all, Ian Doyle.
That's because I'm naturally clean.
Segue.
I've also got a fork, everybody. I've got a fork. So I was having me lunch. I finished it in time, yeah.
Don't stab me with it.
But well, Doyle, you'd be on your best behaviour then.
You have had the most interesting international break, I've heard to
yes.
say. Doyle does Doha.
Yes. I would not be buying that DVD or Blu-ray or VHS cassette.
I would discuss Doyle does Doha, but you've discussed it at length in a different
touch
podcast,
on it.
haven't you?
Yeah, we can
touch Doyle does Doha.
Yeah, we can touch on that. I mean, there is another podcast coming out in a few days, I believe, where I talk at length about it. But, for our regular listeners, if you want to ask a few questions, feel free.
Okay, I will do. How hot is it over there and how sunburned did you get?
Not sunburned. It was hot. It wasn't particularly sunny. When I say hot, it was like 28, 29. So
only the 28 or the 29.
It's hot. Well, it's hot. It's not like, like in Madrid for the final where it was like 40 odd or something daft like that. I mean, it's the winter months in Doha. I mean, the games aren't going to be taking place locally until 8:30 local time, and it was dark by 5:15. So the temperature by then was about 19, 20. So there'll be no concerns for Liverpool in that regard.
Good place. Are they all ready for the Club World Cup?
They're very excited, certainly for Liverpool coming. I know the one of the main organisers turns out he's a massive Liverpool fan, so he was very excited at that prospect.
Who was his favourite player?
No, you're thinking of something else. Oh. Yeah, you've ruined that little thing there, haven't you? Yeah. So
who's that other person's favourite player?
Milan Barros.
Yeah.
No, that was something else completely different. We also, everybody knows the controversy with Qatar getting the World Cup and by association the Club World Cup is their record on human rights, which they're not the only country in that region where the record, shall we say, in the past has been a little bit iffy. It still is ongoing concern, shall we say, and I was invited along with another journalist to one of the Labour accommodation camps, which sounds pretty nasty, but it's actually where they house the migrant workers. That's where they live, basically. They've got nowhere else to go. And one of the people we spoke to there was a Liverpool fan, one of the workers, and he did say that his favourite player was Milan Barros, which I thought was a little bit odd, but, just all sorts.
Unless you support Bannockhoff Strava, I don't think anyone's favourite player is...
He was from Ghana as well, so I didn't quite see the link, so he must have, I'm presuming he started watching Liverpool around 2005, and he saw Barros and his head down, run
into the corners.
Must have been Euro 2004.
It could have been that as well, yeah. So Qatar is an interesting place, not without its problems, but... if football is going to make a positive difference, then that's going to be a good thing.
Well, I'd all recommend you go and read Ian Doyle's long report on that work camp or Labour camp in Qatar. It's a very detailed and very good report. And I think you should go away and read it. All of our listeners now, it's on our website, and there will be more from you on Qatar on Sunday, I believe. Yeah,
yep.
On Sunday with a special podcast. So look out for that then. But the two of you, Gorsty and Doyle, have been down at Jurgen Klopp's press conference today, and Klopp was delighted to be back in front of the media, wasn't he? Really excited about his press conferences.
Yeah, about as excitable as he gets for press conferences, and he does this quite a lot actually. Maybe like the first 10 minutes isn't always about the immediate game, and he just subtly says, well, someone going to ask me about Crystal Palace at some point. And eventually they did, and he gave one or two injury updates. I spoke about Xherdan Shaqiri's situation, because obviously he was back in training this week. Probably going to be a big couple of months for him, you'd imagine. Some chances to finally get in this Liverpool team. Klopp was on fairly good form. Looks like this one's going to come too soon for Joe Matip. Andy Robertson and Salah continue to be assessed. Joe Gomez should be fine after that knee injury in England. And Liverpool, you could probably look at it as heading into this game against Palace as something of a mini injury crisis with the players who are not 100%. But I think Salah and Robertson are the big ones, aren't they? And Klopp said he'll make that decision on those two today after training. But I'd imagine Joe Gomez is going to be fine, and Shaqiri might even be on the bench.
Dolly, he seemed fairly cryptic about Salah and Robertson, and then Roy Hodgson in his subsequent press conferences suggested that he doesn't believe a word of it and both of them will play. Do you think Roy might be right, or do you think Klopp is hiding perhaps a more serious couple of injuries than perhaps we first thought?
Well, we know they're both injured or they're carrying injuries because they've come out and spoken about it. So that's not news. So in that sense, that Jurgen Klopp isn't lying.
No, but
I know you're going to say is that obviously I think Salah just missed the United game, wasn't he? That's the one where he had to sit out because of the injury which he got when he got caught by Hamza Chowdhury, Leicester, and that was 6 weeks ago now on his left ankle. So he obviously pulled out the Egyptian squad for the international break as well. So Liverpool are having to manage it. I mean, he got caught as well, didn't he, against City? It was Fernandinho, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was in the first half, wasn't it? And he managed to get through to about 10 minutes before the end or something like that. So you can't get through it, but Liverpool got so many games coming up and so many important games that I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, they're all must-wins, aren't they, for Liverpool? But they have got that 8-point cushion, and you'd rather Salah missed one game than got on, aggravated it and missed 5, for example. And that's something Liverpool will be looking at. Same with Andy Robertson. I can't remember. What was his injury? His ankle?
It's both ankles, yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. And he came out and said, I've been struggling with this for a few weeks. And he got a knock on it as well, didn't he, towards the end of the game against City. So I don't think Klopp's fibbing, no. I think there's every chance neither of them play. And in fact, in our team select, which we'll do a bit later on, I don't think either of them will play.
No. Theo?
I think it's one of those where Klopp seems to stay quiet when there is something a bit more going on. Like when Salah missed United, that sort of came out of nowhere. It was only on the day of the game when that was really sprung on people. Usually he's quite open about, they're not playing this week, or, they're back. So maybe that it is, like Doherty said, there's no point risking them when we all know how busy December's going to be, how busy January's going to be. And you look at the Liverpool squad, when they've got like Shaqiri coming back, there is no real need to risk Salah. Andy Robertson, it's always been that concern in that Liverpool squad that he is the only proper left back. But then you've still got James Milner, Joe Gomez. Liverpool can cope without them.
Would you leave them out tomorrow?
It's hard one to say because, like with James Milner, he always struggles against Wilfred Zaha. Okay.
You ruin all the topics, Theo. Just
what else should we go on there? Can't read it from it. But I'd leave him out for this one, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, someone else that the Klopp spoke about, as you mentioned, was Shaqiri. It's a funny one with Shaqiri. He hasn't played a great deal since the turn of the year, really. And there's been some reports that perhaps he might think about moving on. Liverpool might think about moving him on. But Klopp was dead against that today. He said he's not going anywhere and he's a big part of his plans. Gorsty, do you think he's still got a big role to play?
I think so, because Liverpool's options up front are pretty stretched, aren't they? You think of the front three, and then there's Origi, and then other than him, Ryan Brewster's yet to play in the Premier League. So there's the chances will come for him. It's just a case of where and when that might be. And I thought he was quite unlucky getting that calf injury at the time when he did, because Liverpool were just about to play MK Dons in the League Cup. He would have certainly have played in that at some point. He's played less than 15 minutes this season, and we're nearly in December, so it's a little bit of a concern for him, no doubt, and well, probably quite a big concern for him at this stage. But Klopp said he's had chats with him, and he hasn't been too happy about not starting, but what player it is, to be fair. And he did suggest that there's going to be chances for him between now and the rest of the season. That's up to him to take it, isn't it? Because if we look back to 12 months ago, Shaqiri was quite an important player for Liverpool, wasn't he? Even to the point where Klopp had changed his formation to try and get him in the team. When he started playing the 4-2-3-1 with Salah as a number 9 for a couple of months or however long it was. And he come off the bench against United in December, didn't he? Scored 2 and turned the game. And then since then, it's just become a bit of a forgotten man, hasn't he? Obviously played against Barcelona, but that was because Salah and Firmino were out. But yeah, I think between now and the end of the year, he'll get a few chances here and there, and it's up to him to to show that he's still got a part to play.
Best comparison you say there is if you look back 12 months, Divock Origi hadn't even got the Everton winner yet.
Yeah.
He was completely on the sidelines and made, 2 appearances, and we all know how the season went for him. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for Shaqiri.
Shaqiri made some decisive contributions even late on in the season when he wasn't playing a great deal of games. He played in that Barcelona 4-0. He took the free kick, I think. Newcastle. So it's funny how quick players are written off and then they come back and then they're written off again, isn't it?
That's because we're now living in the age where people can't see past the end of the day, let alone the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the season. And Klopp's comments on his future were interesting. I think he sees he's got a future this season. I don't think he's got one next season, the way things are going. For Shaqiri, that is. I think he started that Barcelona game's the only game he started since January. And Liverpool in that time won 20 of 21 Premier League games, so you can't say they've missed him.
No.
And they won the Champions League as well. But I think there is a role for him in the next couple. The problem you've got is, as Klopp kind of pointed to, he said it's great, he's back in training. He was injured over the summer and came back late and started late because he got that injury playing for Switzerland against England. Then he got injured again and he was out for 5 weeks. So he's only come back to training again. So he's massively, not fit, running around fit, but match fitness. He's massively off. And I know if he's going to be playing a lot of substitute appearances, he needs to be at it straight away. So he needs to get used to the intensity. Yeah. And Klopp said that quite a few times. He's mentioned about intensity. So I'd imagine the training he's been doing is not being the most intensive. And the fact is, most of the players haven't been there for training the past week. It's only been yesterday, I think it was, Thursday, they had the first session. So he's still going to be a way off. And I think the message from Klopp, reading between the lines there, is to Shaqiri, get your head down, you're fit, just get yourself match fit or, as quickly as possible so you are able to then come on and do things, because Liverpool are going to be playing so many games between now and, as Theo said, the end of January.
Theo, do you think that's been a long-term concern for Shaqiri in terms of he perhaps isn't as fit as he needs to be to play in Klopp's style of play, if that makes sense?
He's never really had the consistent run of games to prove it, has he? So, you think when it was just the start of this season before he got injured that he was having that chance in midfield again, because last season we saw Klopp try and play him in midfield. He wasn't satisfied with that defensive work rate, so that was the formation change. And I think it was Napoli and Burnley. He'd come on in that midfield role. He might have done similar in the Community Shield, and then he's just been struck down by injury. I think it's one of those where players do take time to adjust to Jurgen Klopp's style. And you think, he's been at the club over a year now. Granted, he hasn't played as much as he'd like to, but he's still been training before the injuries this year. And he wants to impress at Liverpool. He has said that it is his dream to win the Premier League with this club. So I think he will be adjusting to it, and there will be more there. It's just the fans haven't seen it because they haven't had a chance to see it yet, because he hasn't had a chance to prove it yet. And this run of games, it's going to be hard for him to get that stability again, because you think normally when a player's coming back from injury, we'll just put him in the League Cup game, get him a few minutes there. We can't play against Villa because he'll be in Qatar by then. You've got to, I suppose, hope that Liverpool...
Or will he?
You've got to hope that Liverpool get the business done against Napoli, so then he can play in a dead rubber against Salzburg, and then whatever they want to do with the World Cup semi-final with the squad there.
Yeah, okay. Well, another...
Theo made a good point then about the fact that he'll be coming into the team this time and he won't have to adapt to it, will he? Because he knows all the tactics, he knows what's expected of him. So in that sense, that's easy. And that's the thing about all of the players. That's what they didn't buy anybody in the summer. They're able to just come straight in and start playing as long as they're fit enough. And that's why, as I say, Klopp mentioned intensity, because he clearly thinks that that's the one thing that's missing from his game at the moment.
But is there a problem with Shaqiri? Because he's never really played when Liverpool played 4-3-3, though, have they? He played a great deal, as Gorsty mentioned before, when they played 4-2-3-1.
Well, they played 4-2-3-1 loads of times this season. They just haven't started the game playing 4-2-3-1.
That's true.
I mean, I'd imagine 5 of the last 6 games they've ended up playing 4-2-3-1 at the very least, and a lot of the time it's helped them change the game. Go back to Sheffield United away, for example. There's one where they did a switch there. I think they did it Salzburg at home for a different reason.
Made loads of changes against Man City.
Yeah. Does that suggest he's not a starter though, and he never will be if they don't play a style that suits him?
Well, he's not going to be a regular starter because he's never been a regular starter anywhere apart from at Stoke, who got relegated, and Bâle, who in Switzerland, that was the start of his career. I think he started as a fullback, or did I dream that? I think he might have started as a left back. I
think he played there a little bit for Bayern Munich.
Yeah. So he's never ever going to be, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, Liverpool. He's never going to be a starter, but he's the kind of player that you can call on for substitute appearances for the starts here, and then he'll have little runs of games where we saw that, didn't we, in November, December last season, where he started about 5 or 6 games, makes contribution. I think the thing with Shaqiri is that And it's the reason why whenever we write a story on Shaqiri, everyone's like, oh, Shaqiri. It's because everybody knows he's so talented, but they can't quite figure out why he doesn't play more often. But as I said, he hasn't played, but Liverpool keep on winning. So it's, what do you want? It's like, do you want a player who's going to be like coming in and perhaps hasn't got quite the same defensive ability or whatever Klopp wants? Because he isn't quite absolutely 100% the player Klopp wants that he can rely on every single time. Otherwise, he'd be playing all the time when he's available. Like you like Fabinho, you like Mane, and I'm not saying he's in the kind of standard, but the point I'm trying to make there.
It's one where if he was in like a Julio team, a Benitez team, a Rodgers team, he'd be a fan favourite, wouldn't he? He'd be a star man because he's a match winner. But Liverpool have evolved now where the team is so good, you don't necessarily need the match winner because the 11 just get the job done.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing as well, having players of his quality waiting in the wings. Okay, he probably would like to play more, but Liverpool's front three is you could make a case for it being the best in the world, couldn't you, without too much of an argument. So it's you've got to be top to get into this team and take one of them out, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that he's a reserve, because Liverpool need more than 11 good players, don't they? So I think he's a very good option to have as a reserve forward.
And he's a different option to the ones they've got already because he can play in midfield. And if you look at the other midfielders, Oxlade-Chamberlain played number 9, didn't he, recently against Genk at home.
Shaqiri did it a bit in pre-season when he joined.
Keita's a different player again. Lallana's a different player on top of that. Who missed out somebody? Milner. Yeah, Milner's a different player because if you look at Henderson, Fabinho and Wijnaldum are the three that Klopp tends to look at in midfield, and then it's always tends to be one of those, two of those three and possibly another one, or those three is the way he tends to go. So you've got enough different options. I think with Shaqiri it's just you can also go up top, left or right, but then what formation do you play?
I'm very confused. It's like that gif of maths things. Right, okay. Another person that Klopp mentioned at his press conference was Jose Mourinho, who's now back in management with Tottenham.
Yep.
I know he only spoke briefly about him, so we will only speak briefly about Jose, but Klopp quite happy to see him back. But sad to see the back of Pochettino. Yeah,
I think that sums it up. He said, didn't he, that he's got this history with Pochettino because it was his first match in England as Liverpool manager against Tottenham back in October 2015. He obviously beat him in the Champions League final. And he seems to like many people, like everyone virtually, seems to rate Pochettino as a top-class manager. So, yeah, he said he was a bit sad to see him go, and he said, welcome back, Jose.
Said he was desperate, didn't he?
Yeah,
desperate
to
I like that. Yeah, that was a nice line.
But you could see that from Mourinho on Sky, just how he talks about the game, and I actually thought he was an excellent pundit. It was great watching him on Sky, but now he's back at Spurs, and we can all get used to him moaning and crying and whinging again.
The very aptly named Andy Ha sent out a very funny tweet yesterday. Calling Mourinho quite happy with that.
You're really pleased with that, aren't you? Yeah, you can really make a note and say, I must use that again at a later date.
Might tweet him and tell him. Yeah, calling Mourinho the Waitrose Allardyce, which I thought was quite funny yesterday.
That's a bit unfair. Let's be honest. Also, it's unfair on Allardyce as well, isn't it? Because he's far more progressive than people think, and Mourinho's not quite as regressive as people think.
It was just a joke, but it is funny that Mourinho is now bouncing around the top teams, isn't he?
Well, why wouldn't he be?
Just third team in England.
He's won the Champions League with Porto and...
I'm not knocking Mourinho.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not. I'm just saying that he doesn't seem to be able to find a home anymore, does he, for a long period of time?
Well, we thought Chelsea was his home, wasn't it, until it kind of went wrong the second time around. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Pochettino won't be out of work for long, will he? I mean, I still think he'll be the next Manchester United manager, so he could easily take a couple of weeks off, wait for Solskjaer to do his thing, and then just step in and away you go. And I think it's whether or not Tottenham saw that coming, I don't know, because the form hasn't been great over the past 6 or 7 months. I just don't what's gone on there. We'll find out eventually. Because if they're moaning about we've not been treated well by the manager who's become he's picking arguments, this, that, and the other, some of the stuff that we've heard, it's like we've got Mourinho now. He's not renowned for doing any of that, is he? So I think it's a decision made by the owners at Tottenham, not to do with the players. They just saw the league table.
All the fans.
Yeah.
You like Tottenham, don't you?
Well, what do you mean?
I did notice that you sent out a tweet after he'd been sacked.
Yeah, same.
And I was a little bit surprised you didn't take the opportunity to wind Tottenham fans up a little bit more.
Well, I didn't, did I? I didn't have to, because they were just upset already, really, if we're being honest. They're upset the way things are going. I don't think any of them really thought Pochettino was going to go. And although he gets sacked, that's the other thing, is it wasn't even a mutual, departure thing. He was given the axe. He didn't want to go. So, I don't know. I mean, Mourinho, will he improve Tottenham's results in the short-term future? Yes. Might he win them a trophy? That could be interesting, actually.
Well, anyway, this is the Blood Red podcast.
It is.
Not the plain white podcast.
Lily White's thing.
Lily White's,
yeah.
Yeah. So let's move back onto Liverpool matters. I mean, I'm not a huge Townsend fan, but
he's fast. He's fast. He's got a bit of skill, so he can always pull something. I think he hit the bar against Liverpool at Crystal Palace last time at Selhurst Park. So, yeah, I think Milner, if he's going to be struggling up against Zaha, it means that Crystal Palace have changed the formation, and that will surely, in some way, affect Zaha's game and Crystal Palace's game. So that could be something to look out for if Milner does play left back.
Okay, the other selection problem will be Salah then. So, do you think we almost take Salah a little bit for granted, Paul? So when he doesn't play, you do miss him? Because, I mean, at Old Trafford, Liverpool weren't at their best. And although at times Salah is quiet, he's still a wonderful player. And I think people do almost take him for granted.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. I think it seems to be maybe a little bit more fashionable to talk about Sadio Mane these days. But Salah, for me, is still Liverpool's main man. Virgil van Dijk is obviously the rock at the back, and Alisson's a world-class goalkeeper, but Salah is the headline grabber for me. But saying that, I would rest him tomorrow, even if he might feel that he's fit to play. I think Liverpool could still get by Palace with Divock Origi in the front three, and I'd save Salah for Napoli on Wednesday when there's a chance to get that Champions League group stage done and dusted. So, but yeah, I do agree with you there that perhaps he's sometimes taken a little bit for granted. He's been Liverpool's top scorer for the last 2 seasons, 44 the season before last and 27 last season. He's up to 9 already this season, so he's a world-class player and shouldn't be taken for granted.
You two, would you both rest him tomorrow, Rigi?
I'd rest him, yeah, simply because there are so many games coming up, and he is Liverpool's. Yeah, he still scares opponents, doesn't he? He's got the pace. His numbers are fantastic this season. He might not be playing a slightly different position, which is why Sadio Mane is getting so many goals and getting involved quite as much. And I mean, Firmino's had 8 assists, which is as many as he had through the whole last season. But
would you switch Mane over to the right? And
Origi will go left, Mane
yeah.
right, and Firmino down the middle. The problem there is does Firmino even play? Remember the international break back in September where he didn't play, but then he didn't have the concerns over Mane and Salah. So I don't think he can change 2 of them. I think Salah, if he's going to change one, it'll be him, because they need to kind of make him. They're not. But he said you have to be sensible, didn't he? Klopp said you have to be sensible with him, and I think that kind of points to the fact there's no point rushing him back for this game, because you can always leave him on the bench. There's nothing wrong with that, and then bring him on if things are going a little bit wrong.
Okay, well, we'll talk quickly about the Liverpool connection at Crystal Palace. We'll start with Christian Benteke. Interesting fact there, he's only scored 3 goals this season. They've all come for Belgium.
Have you had that?
Yeah, I just made that one up there.
Very good.
So, can't make up a fact.
Well, I can.
That would be a lie then, wouldn't it?
It
wouldn't
be a fact. It is a fact.
You've unearthed a fact.
You've been doing your research, haven't you?
Yeah.
Arsenal are to blame for diving.
Don't start this.
That is a fact.
I've got some breaking news, by the way. Liverpool under 23s have been playing this afternoon against Brighton, and they've been involved in an 8-goal thriller.
Yeah.
They won 5-3 in the end. They were 4-0 up.
I think it was 4-0,
yeah.
Brian Brewster, did he play?
Brian Brewster did not play, no, though Harvey Elliott scored a penalty. Yes, and Christian Davies scored. Louis Longstaff and Curtis Jones got 2.
Captain.
So no Curtis Jones tomorrow?
No, you would not think so, no. Which suggests that Brian Brewster might travel.
There you go. There you have it. You got it from Ian Doyle first.
What's the question?
Can't remember. Christian Benteke,
yes.
A peculiar player. He terrorised Liverpool before he moved to Anfield. Came to Liverpool. It wasn't great, but it wasn't absolutely terrible. Scored, I think, 11 goals. And things just haven't worked out for him since he went to Palace. But do you think he's still a player capable of providing a threat tomorrow?
Yeah, because he's that type of striker that is always dangerous when he's on his game. Like big players, they're hard to get the ball off, and they're always going to cause you trouble in the air. the ball into your feet, and when you've got like Zaha, Ayew, Townsend, whatever, playing off them, it's hard to keep track of. And Benteke, while he's not been at his best for Palace in the last 18 months, 2 years, he still had decent moments for them. Was it Liverpool's last home defeat? He scored twice in that one. And he's a good player. It's just weird how it's all fallen apart for him, because I remember him having a good first season with Palace, going back to my Bolton days here. I know you all love this shout out. Bolton had them in a replay. They were actually winning at Selhurst Park, and they just threw Benteke on. He got a brace, and Bolton got knocked out.
Sorry, I've just been told that we've just lost 4,000 listeners.
Oh, that's a shame,
in the
isn't
last
it?
5 seconds.
But yeah, let's just put it was Isaac Christie Davis who scored, not whatever name I just called him. By the way,
What did you call him?
I don't know.
Christian Davis.
Like,
Yeah. Well, Christian Benteke, Donny,
Yes.
he was a good player before he came to Liverpool. It just didn't work out for him.
I thought he was a good player when he was at Liverpool.
What were your memories of him then, in terms of?
Scoring over a kick against Manchester
what a
United,
goal.
which obviously I was at the game, so I didn't see the television coverage, but I believe the commentator, who Liverpool fans don't like so much at the moment, went, "Oh, goal." And then when Anthony Marshall went down the other end and scored, there was one or two celebratory tone to his exclamation.
You're overselling the enthusiasm for that goal.
But I remember that goal. I just remember he scored nearly on
Goal against
first home
Chelsea.
game against Bournemouth, scored against Chelsea. I thought he was exactly the right sign at the right time, but
You did?
but I was, and I saw him score a cracking goal in the summer against Swindon. That was his first game, I think, his debut. And you think, and he was always caused Liverpool a problem always. But then when Klopp came in, the game changed, didn't it? And while he did, I'm pretty sure, did he come on or play in the Europa League final?
Well, he played a
Was
lot.
he still there? He was still there, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Still there,
He was
Because
at least on the bench.
Heavily
Because he
involved
scored,
from
didn't
the
he,
bench.
right at the end of the season against Chelsea, didn't he?
Yeah,
At home with
Shea Ojo's cross.
Yeah, so I thought he was good. I don't know what's happened to him. Really don't know what's happened to him at Crystal Palace, because as Theo said, the first season he was good, and then after that, I don't know. I think no one has a bad word to say about him, do they? Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone who's worked with him, but I don't know what's gone on there.
I thought he was Drogba 2.0 at one stage. I thought he was that good. Thought he had everything.
I
He's
think
as tall as you, Ghosty. What went wrong?
I just think
He stopped growing. That's what it was.
I think his transfer was when Liverpool were in a really strange position off the field in terms of Brendan Rodgers seemed to want to go one way, and we had the people looking after transfers who wanted to go another way, and they ended up with a weird one where Roberto Firmino and Christian Benteke were signed in the same summer, both for around about 30 million, and just never really seemed to be any long-term plan behind it to get the best out of both. It wasn't like they were two players who could complement each other.
It's funny Doyley says that you thought he was the exact right type of player at the right time, because I thought he never suited the style that Rodgers even wanted to play.
32 million as well for Liverpool at the time was big money. Brought him just below Carroll as the most expensive player, and just never really seemed to work, did it? As you say there about his type of style, you basically need to get players who can play off him, and he can hold the ball up so well, but just it never really fitted at Liverpool, and he has form's completely fallen off a cliff at Palace, hasn't it? I remember him scoring against Arsenal last season, and I think the commentator said it was his first goal, possibly away goal, for 11 months. When you're a striker, that's really poor form. And I don't know how helpful his manager is, if I'm honest. I don't think Roy Hodgson is a progressive attacking manager, and I think that certainly doesn't help a 6'3" target man, to be honest.
That's just been praising him, Hodgson.
Sorry, they play counter-attacking, don't they? So that he's not exactly
No.
built for that, as Ghosty said.
Yeah, Hodgson has just been praising him, saying he doesn't want to lose him. So there's been like transfer rumours, clubs saying that he might go, and Hodgson's just going, well, we've only got 2 strikers. What are we going to do if we let him go? So he does still want him.
From one peculiar Liverpool career to another, Mamadou Sakho was a defender who I think always divided opinion at Anfield. He had his backers, and I have to say,
You were definitely one of them, weren't
I was
you?
one of them
Yes.
for a time, and he had his doubters. He was quite popular, wasn't he, for a little short while at Anfield, and then it all went wrong with the drugs test and everything else that followed it.
That was unlucky for him, wasn't it? I mean, that was...
Yeah.
But then,
He had that overturned.
Yeah.
I think we should say that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, no, he did. But what I meant was that I think the club were annoyed that he was taking a supplement that he shouldn't have been taking, or he should have informed them that he was taking, and then he didn't react well afterwards in terms of coming back, and I think Klopp wants him to go out on loan. Do you think things could have been different for Sakho at Anfield, Gorsty, had he perhaps knuckled down after that incident and followed Klopp's instructions?
It's a strange one because he did divide opinion, and I was someone who thought that he was very good. Seeing him on the ball is easy to say, oh, he's not very good because he's very unorthodox, but I always thought he was a good defender, and since Virgil van Dijk's come in, I must admit I've thought a few times, what was I thinking? Because this is what a top defender looks like. It isn't Mamadou Sakho. I mean, we picked our team of the decade recently, didn't we, for a piece online, and Van Dijk was obviously a shoo-in for the centre-back, and it took me a while, and I actually asked Theo his thoughts on it, who would be the other centre-back, and I think it just shows that Liverpool, he's just one of many decent centre-backs, but probably not Liverpool level, or the level that Liverpool aspire to, so I'd probably put him in that category, to be honest.
But could you say, Doyley, that Matip and Lovren were in the same boat as Sakho, and then Van Dijk came along and not only transformed our opinions of defenders, but also their Liverpool careers themselves?
No. Because I think that they were both better than Sakho, and they'd already formed a partnership, hadn't they, in 16-17 and then 17.
They had, but it wasn't
18, but it got
very
Liverpool
successful partnership.
Well, it got Liverpool into the Champions League.
I suppose it did.
And it got them towards the top of the table. Mm-hmm. So with Sakho, Liverpool, I'm pretty sure we're not near. Well, did he play in 13-14? He was, wasn't he?
He went on loan, didn't he?
Yeah,
he was left in the under-23s for a while.
That's right, yeah. So, no, he was never really good. He was. I've never seen anyone more deliberately pass the ball than him. Somebody once said his foot's like a putter. You know, when he kicks it, he's like, he lines it up.
Yeah.
You know, then follows through, kind of thing. So he was. As Gorsty said, he was all right. He was all right. He was never brilliant. Because he was one of these heart on his sleeve kind of defenders, and he was definitely very committed. He got an awful lot of blocks, a lot of interceptions, but then and a lot of decent goals as well. Don't forget he scored against Dortmund and he scored in the derby against Everton. But that's why he was a bit of a fan favourite, and fans love stuff like that. But I think they've now seen, as Gorsty said, you've seen Van Dijk and the improvement in Matip and the improvement in Lovren and the progress of Gomez. There's 4 that are better than him, and they're all at the club at the moment.
Yep.
I see Sakho as like a last gasp defender. So he's one where he looks good on match of the day because he's making that last ditch challenge or anything. But Paolo Maldini once said, if you had to make a tackle as a defender, you've failed because you've already should have read it. And Sakho obviously didn't have that footballing brain. Well, you can't.
It's a strange thing to know.
No, that's right.
I agree with you. It's just the way you said it.
100% correct.
So
Sakho, when were you chatting to Paolo Maldini, by the way?
No, so in the summer. I just had a little catch up with him at the San Siro.
Little chin one. Yeah.
But yeah, like Sakho, it was always just, he's done really well to get that cross out last minute or to block anything. But that's because Liverpool were, they might concede it. And it's that very last moment thing. And I don't think I've really seen him at Palace and thought, we've let a good one go here. Like, if he was as good as we thought he was, he wouldn't be at Crystal Palace.
No,
he gave away the penalty, didn't he, for Salah in the game last season?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
when
he
fouled him
lose him as well.
times.
Like one of the games, right? It's a couple of tap-ins. He just lost his man completely.
Well, from one
Not
misunderstood,
just destroy him any further. Let's just move on.
Well, from one misunderstood genius to another, Roy Hodgson.
Also, you're going to say me then?
Roy Hodgson also didn't enjoy himself at Anfield. But as history, someone in this office, I won't name his name because he probably gets slaughtered for it, said, I've mellowed on Roy. I know you haven't mellowed on Roy, just before we were talking on this podcast.
My heart is hardened.
You detest him, don't you?
Well, detest is a bit harsh. I've never actually met Roy Hodgson. I might do tomorrow. But
you hate him though, don't you?
I don't hate him. I just don't think he was ever. It wasn't so much. I mean, Liverpool, when he come in, Liverpool were a messing off the pitch, and he wasn't the worst thing about Liverpool, but he just didn't endear himself, and it was it was just what he said more than anything. And I've picked up on it since. He still does it to this day. He never talks up anything when he should be, and it was more what he said than the results he got at Liverpool, which obviously were dreadful at the time as well. But yeah, I just thought he had a unique gift for putting his foot in his mouth every single time he talked when he was Liverpool manager.
There were so many open goals that he had to talk about. So about like, what's it like, the Anfield atmosphere in the European night? And he goes, is it the best in the world? He says, well, Old Trafford's quite good, and Inter Milan's quite good, and San Siro's good, same ground, and Bernabeu's good, and Newcastle. It's like, just say yeah. So you have to see you are the manager of Liverpool, just say yeah, move on. He won't do it because he's doesn't want to upset anybody, but by trying not to upset everybody, upsets everyone. Exactly, yeah. So,
well, it would have been utopia had he got things right. At
famous away win in Trabzonspor.
Yeah, well,
he was there for that one.
Theo, he is effective at what he does, though, isn't he? And in terms of the mid-table sides that he takes over, they're good, and his teams are always a threat, aren't they?
Yeah, he's a good manager at the right sort of club. Just looking back, especially now, Liverpool were never the right club for him. No. Like, he took Fulham to a European final. Like, there's some big wins. Did they beat Juventus on the way to that final?
Juventus, yeah.
And like, he obviously got the Inter Milan job, and he's always been respected elsewhere. But in England, it's only really at Palace, at Fulham, where you think, oh, there's something about him. But he's just so drab watching his football. It's not entertaining at all. Like, obviously, England aren't popular in these parts, but it was just, he's expecting to watch a 1-0 win or something against some really rubbish teams, and they'll go and big out and say that's a really good win. And it was the exact same when he was Liverpool manager. Like, you think, granted, it didn't go his way with like injuries to Torres, stuff like that, but they're in the relegation zone under him. He had like, oh, we're losing in the last few minutes here, let's put Kyriakos up front. Liverpool don't play like that.
Yeah,
I was entertaining when Crystal Palace beat Man City 3-2 last season. Yeah.
I always think he's a bit of a fun vampire, isn't he? When he was at Liverpool,
he's a what? Sorry,
a fun vampire.
Fun vampire.
Yeah, it sucked the fun out of being.
Oh right, yeah. I had visions of him being a vampire, just like juggling and stuff like that, being a comedian. Sorry,
a vacuum. Do you mean vacuum?
Yeah, you said
vampires also. They suck blood.
Yeah, that's why what you said was very intriguing to me.
All right, okay.
But got a nice headline for this.
Juggling
because he's fun.
Oh right, a fun vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you mean. Okay, all right. Well,
Ghosty was with me, so there's only you that wasn't.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know how you
imagery
that way. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Tell us about Shaqiri.
He sucked the life out of Liverpool really at the time. I thought it really was a bad time to be a Liverpool fan, and
it was a bad time to be a Liverpool reporter as well, by the way, because you also had all that takeover stuff going on. So you were quite. Remember the game? Was it Blackburn away? Wasn't it 3-1 where they got beaten? Then that's when we put the boot in and said, "Come on, enough of this." That's
and Gerrard deliberately missed the penalty.
He didn't deliberately miss a penalty because he'd already scored, hadn't he, in that game? But that was just the worst. And a couple of days later he was gone. And thanks for dredging all that up, Joe. Thanks.
Yeah, well, he sucked the life out of Liverpool. He sucked the life out of this podcast. So
I thought Bold had already sucked the life out of this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's a fun vampire, though. That's
right.
He's got that going for him.
Juggling? Is that your idea of fun? Is that what happens to say?
Well, I didn't want to say like a clown. Can you have a clown vampire? Does that work? How would that look?
Well, is that what you do in your spare time? You go juggling?
No.
Anyway,
try and turn this on me. He's the one that said it.
Can we just pick our teams and go home? Right, so Alisson, Becker in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. We've worked that out. Dejan Lovren and
Van Dijk. Yeah. I'm going with Robertson at left back.
And Milner.
Okay, I'm banning Robertson because I want to find out just who you play if not, because that's just cheating, isn't it? Really?
It'd have to be Milner.
I want to see Joe Gomez get a game, but I'm going to go with Milner just because I think Gomez needs a game, but it's not really one where you want to put him out of position.
Yeah. Well, I put that in my team because I thought Zaha. I completely messed things up in my mind, so I'm going to go back to my desk later and change that. In midfield, Fabinho is an automatic starter. Yeah. Who starts alongside him? Is it hat-trick hero Gini Wijnaldum? No.
It's got to be Henderson.
He played on Tuesday and only got back to training yesterday.
Was he ill as well because he missed the first game, didn't he? Gini.
Did he?
So Jordan Henderson, you're saying?
Yeah, Jordan Henderson.
You're saying
I'll go Henderson.
Yeah. So who's your third midfielder then?
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Nebulous Keita.
Go and trying
Baby Keith, he can play.
Rekindle his Crystal Palace magic.
Baby Keith.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
We know that one.
Okay, fun vampire. Yeah. Continue.
Well, just explain your selection.
Keita because I wrote a piece on him this week.
Because you wrote a piece on him?
I'm not finished. No, I wrote a piece on this week and looked at he's only made 2 appearances from the bench in the Premier League. Both times was late on at Villa and United, and losing positions were turned into a draw at United and a win at Aston Villa. He had decent games, certainly in the first half against Genk at home in the Champions League, and he also played twice for Guinea over the international break and scored in one of the games. So he's clearly fit. He's match fit. He's got a bit of confidence. He did really well at Crystal Palace last season, where he was I think it was first away game for Liverpool, where he had a very good game. He did that nice turn and put the ball over for Salah, could have scored. So I think this is one of the few stadiums where he's got good memories And I think this could be one where he can come in and do something. And especially if Henderson and Fabinho are both playing, and there might not be any Salah, and there might not be any Robertson, Liverpool are going to need a bit more creativity in midfield, certainly driving going forward. And there's your answer.
Wow, you've convinced me. I'd also pick Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Theo, who would you pick?
I think I've almost been convinced there, because Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain had a good international break as well. He got a goal and assist, but maybe you need him in the front three instead.
Okay, well, we'll find out now when we pick the front three. Firmino, Mane and
Origi. No Salah, yeah, rest up that ankle. Still giving him jib, nearly 2 months on.
Oh, ours is still giving us jib 2 months on.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So it's Ghost.
You got as well. Yeah, I was
Oh.
first. I was the trailblazer. I was before Salah.
You're falling apart. You
I know.
Ian Doyle.
Now, I would definitely pick Mane, and I would definitely pick Origi, so there's no Salah. And I was umming and ahhing over this because I've got a funny feeling he might not play Firmino, and he'll play Oxlade-Chamberlain, the number 9 role, as Theo might say in a minute, or not say. But I wouldn't. I'd play Firmino.
Okay, Theo, you going to say that?
Mane, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Firmino, no Origi.
Oxlade-Chamberlain from
So where's
left.
Oxlade on the right?
Left with Mane on the right.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. There you have it. Predictions, Ghosty?
1-0.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
2-1 Liverpool.
2-1.
I'm going to say 1-1. I just think at some point they're going to drop some
I
points.
think it's going to be a really tough game, this one. This is the one I won't say worried, but it's the one I've been looking at for a little while, thinking this just smells
After
of...
the international
Klopp's
break.
won all 4 of his games at Selhurst Park, though.
Yeah, it smells a bit nasty.
Palace get a penalty in this because they always score penalties.
It's got a feel of a tricky one, hasn't it? But
Of the next
Liverpool
5,
got
it
away
looks the most difficult. I think Brighton's in there. I know the Derby's in there, but it is at home, so Watford...
Yeah.
Bournemouth away, where they tend to do quite
they
well.
tend to. So Palace is quite... So that's why I think a draw wouldn't be the end of the world.
Well, I think draw would be a good result.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially with
because
City playing Chelsea as well.
and they've got such a big lead at the moment that they can manage games a bit better now. They don't have to go absolutely, we need to win this, we need to win this. There are some games where you've got to assume Man City aren't going to win 26 games in a row, and Leicester aren't going to win 26 games, neither are Chelsea, but they can't because they've got to play each other. So a draw would be a good result, but I think they'll win.
Okay, there you have it. Well, we hope you're right. Do listen to all our podcasts on all our different channels. I haven't been told to say this. Facebook, we're on Facebook now, so if you want to see us, you can watch the whole thing back on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube, and you can also listen to it through Acast, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else, Audio Boom, anywhere else you can listen to it.
Just ask Guy to send you the raw footage.
Every stream, send us an email and we'll just send you the file. whatever you want, really. But yeah, just make sure you listen. Right, see you on Monday where we'll be talking about hopefully a Liverpool win. See you then.